of Brewers, the home of homebrew. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
G'day, it's Dan here from League of Brewers, and today I'm just about to put down a batch of Brick Road Red IPA. A lot of you might have seen these around. It's probably one of the newest beer kits on the market. It comes with a little recipe booklet. There's also a lot of information online, so this gives you options basically, and it leads you through what needs to be done in terms of what ingredients and the steps involved to put a brew down. So yeah, the red IPA comes with a packet of hops. I think that's 30 grams of Columbus hops. It does come with yeast as well. Yeah, let's get into it. Today I'm going to go for the 23 litre batch, which is using the red IPA can, a 1.5 kg of Brick Road light malt extract, and a 1 kg of dry malt extract. That's the light dry malt extract. So these are both unhopped. But yeah, that will give me, well, it's estimated to give me 6.6%. So yeah, alright. 1 second, I'm just grabbing a knife. Okay, back again. So yeah, I've got my my dry malt extract here, and I've got my sanitised can opener, which I am happy about. I'll just leave that upside down like that, so that it's not touching any surfaces. I've reboiled that kettle just for safety. And we're going to start diluting all of this here. So today I'm going to use the sanitizer here to sanitize the outside of my can. Just dunk that in there for a couple of seconds, make sure there's no air bubbles sitting on the can. That's sanitized. Same with this guy. Just these little areas that maybe we forget to do, or you know, we overlook it, and it's those areas there that give you problems. So, rightio, I'm going to pour some boiling hot water in the bottom here. Prefer it, add a little bit of boiling water first, so that our extract doesn't stick on the bottom. Hot water in. Okay, now we can open up our can. Our can opener is not the best can opener I have seen. Now we're getting into it now though. I won't open it all the way because I don't want that to fall in. Right, here we go. You're going to come on out. There she goes. Whoa. I do have the kettle boiling for some more extract, to get more extract out of here. That'll need a bit of loosening. I don't want to waste anything. The rest of it I think we'll have to get with the hot water. Okay. I'll get that one dissolved before I put in the next one. Okay, that one's dissolved. Now we're going with the next one. Actually, I might put the dry in now. For a dry malt extract in. Too easy. Stir that in. Okay, I'm waiting on some more hot water. Get some more hot water, I'll get this other can open. Oh, League of Brewers need to invest in a new can opener. This is no good. Oh my God. Alright, so after much mucking around with this can and using knives and all sorts of implements to try and open it, I finally got it open. This is what I call field brewing, or you know, being not in your own comfort zone, at home, with all your tools at hand. You're basically just standing in a warehouse with a jug and a can opener. That doesn't work. So yeah, but hey, I managed to get it open. So I've dissolved both the red IPA kit can and the dry malt extract, and now it's just the rest of the light liquid malt extract. So here we go. Alrighty, clean enough. So yeah, we'll get this nicely dissolved, get it all incorporated, and then we'll top it up with some cold water. Smelling great, by the way. Red IPA or red beers are quite hard to get the colour right. So flavour's also an aspect, but yeah, colour's one of those things that make it hard. Okay, so there we are. Pretty happy with that. We've got all that dissolved. Now we're going to top it up with cold water. We're going to go 23 litres. So yeah, watch me as I top this up. Alright folks, so yeah, 23 litres in the fermenter. The colour looks okay from here. It's hard to tell because it's such a dense mass of wort. But yeah, that's ready for a yeast pitch. One thing to mention, when you're brewing beer in general, is if you have highly chlorinated water, it's a good idea to filter it if you can, just using a carbon filter. So the temperature here is probably too warm to pitch my yeast. It's sitting at 23 degrees. Now with this kit, to get a 23 litre batch at 6.6%, the yeast that it comes with really isn't enough. So there's 6 grams. I mean, there's plenty of options for this brew, but I've decided to add not only the liquid malt extract but the dry malt extract as well. So that's doubling the sugar really for this brew. So doubling the sugar means you've got a more concentration of sugar in the brew, and you would need more yeast to ferment that amount of sugar. So if I just added one packet, the one that came with it, would have problems. So the yeast would stress out, and you'd end up with off flavours due to not enough yeast. So the key thing to good flavour in beer is not only number one, sanitation. Two is a good amount of yeast. So today I'm going to use another packet of yeast with this packet. So we're about 6.6%. So when you sort of go over 1052 starting gravity, that's 1.052 starting gravity, you sort of want to start thinking about using 10 grams of yeast ideally. Especially if you're using an all malt brew. So some of you guys out there might be using dextrose or brew enhancer, which is 50% dextrose, 50% malt enhancer or malt extract. The dextrose isn't quite as a difficult sugar for yeast to consume. So Bry 97 by some say BRY 97 by Lallemand is a West Coast, American West Coast yeast. It ferments very clean, and I'm guessing the yeast in here is probably similar. So fermenting fairly clean, I mean by letting the hops and the malt flavours stand out without sort of any esters produced during the fermentation. So yeah, a good temperature for these yeasts here is going to be 18 to 20 degrees. I don't really want to go over 20 if I can help it for these yeasts. You might see on some manufacturing yeast that might have, a range from 18 to 25. Well, that's quite a large range, and within that large range you're going to get quite a different outcome in terms of flavour. So yeast bring flavour, or they don't bring flavour, depending on what the temperature that you're fermenting at. So that lower scale is always what you should adhere to in terms of a West Coast style yeast, American West Coast style yeast. So yeah, I'm going to wait for this to cool down to 18 degrees before I put my yeast in. And then I'm just going to sprinkle the yeast on top, and then I'm going to leave it. I'm going to put it on my heat pad. So yeah, when it's at 18 degrees, I'll be back. So while this is cooling down to temperature, pitching temperature, I thought we'd talk about fermentation temperature as well. So one of the most important things with beer brewing is being able to control the temperature of the fermentation, and that can be a massive range in terms of what sort of yeast you're using. So we talked about using an American style West Coast ale yeast, which is good for sort of pale ales, many styles actually. You can do stouts, porters, you name it. There's a lot of styles you can do with this yeast. But this sort of style of yeast, which performs best at 18 to sort of 20 degrees, will respond well in terms of the flavour that you're producing during that fermentation. So how do we keep it at that range all year round? Well, summer's probably the hardest time to control your fermentation because it's so hot. In fact, this yeast during the middle of summer, if it's 25 degrees outside, chances are once the fermentation kicks in here, you're probably going to be a good 3 degrees higher than that. So 28 degrees, that's way too hot. You'll end up with off flavours in your beer, which will make it sort of maybe not 100% undrinkable, but it won't be pleasant. There'll be an aftertaste in there that, or a flavour in the front that you're not enjoying. So I'm going to ferment this in this cold building. It's probably about 12 degrees in here, and so to do that and keep the temperature steady, well, I've got my heat pad. My heat pad's going to keep it warm, but what if it overshoots? What if the temperature goes over what's recommended, which is probably 18 to 20 degrees for this yeast. So I've got my fermentation pad here, which I'm going to plug into a controller. So this is a digital controller by Kegland. It's a rack temperature controller. So basically it has two outputs. It has one for chilling and one for heating. So if you wanted to control like a fridge, for instance, you put the whole barrel in the whole bucket in the fridge. The heat pad would go inside the fridge, which would be plugged into, plug the heat pad into the hot, like that. Then this one would plug into the fridge, the blue one. Then you set the temperature here to whatever you would like it to be. So let's set it to 18 degrees. Actually the temperature in here right now is 15 degrees, so it's not too cold. But if I let that sit here overnight, it would probably get too cold at 15 degrees. So we need to keep the temperature on. But anyway, so that would be your heat pad going inside the fridge, and then your fridge plugged into this one. The probe for the temperature controller sits against the fermenter, like so. So let's get that on there. Just got a bit of tape on there. Now that's going to pick up the temperature of the fermenter right on there, and then this is going to go on top of the brew pad. Now I'll insulate this with a jacket. I don't have a lot of a lot of tools in this warehouse to use, so what I would use is maybe like just a jacket. I'll be back in a second. I'm literally talking about a jacket. So this will just keep it warm enough that when it gets cold overnight, the temperature will stay inside that jacket. So you could use a blanket, you could use cardboard, you could use a whole raft of stuff. So basically that sort of emulates what we're trying to do here. And when the temperature gets above 18, which it is now, it's climbing, it will turn the heat pad off. And when it gets too cold, when it gets to about 17.7 degrees, then it will kick the heat pad back in. So it just keeps it at a nice steady temperature. So good beer is created with a good steady temperature fermentation range. So you can get away with using different yeasts. For instance, there's some yeasts out there that like a cooler temperature. For like a lager yeast, for instance, there's also yeasts out there that prefer warmer temperatures. So you can get up to sort of 35, which is good for brewing in the middle of summer. So yeah, you've got options without temperature control, but for this style of beer, I believe strongly that you want a good steady temperature of around about 18 to 19 degrees. So yeah, we'll put the jacket on. Once the temperature is down, that was made for it. Look at that. North face. There we go. See cozy airs in there. So yeah, we can see the temperature, what it's reading in there. Underneath that, I'm going to put my airlock on shortly, and once it's at 18 degrees, I'm going to sprinkle my yeast in, put my sanitised airlock with diluted star sand in there. In fact, I can do that now. So we'll give that a squirt, and then we'll put a bit of sanitizer inside the airlock. Okay folks, so here's my airlock is sanitised. I put that in the hole, like that. Gonna wait till it's at 18 degrees, sprinkle my yeast on, and we shall tuck it away for a few days and let it go. So my guess it's probably going to take around about 10 days to ferment with a good amount of yeast and good temperatures. Halfway through the fermentation, we're going to do a dry hop. So I'm going to do a double dry hop with this beer. We'll add some hops on probably day 4 and some more hops sort of towards the end of fermentation. So yeah, the reason for that is to give the beer a bit more complexity. So I'll be back with a dry hop in a couple of days. I'll add my yeast in probably about half an hour and we'll be good to go. Talking about that, I'll take the jacket off so I can cool it down. Rightio folks, we'll catch you in a couple of days.